Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video we are doing a little lengthy video, so grab some snacks, grab some popcorn, get comfortable, because we're going to do a reaction video to Henry Rodriguez from Married at First Sight season 11. He did a live podcast interview. So before we jump into this video, if you're new here, smash the subscribe button to continue to get updated quality content. If you like the video, smash the like button. And also, too, if you want to engage with the channel, feel free to drop a comment down below because I do engage with my subscribers. So I will be back on midway this interview to give my thoughts on the first half. So let's jump into this video without further ado.
And I am so excited. Today we have a very special guest for you all. I am so excited to introduce. We have Henry Rodriguez from Married at First Sight New Orleans joining us today. Hi, Henry.
Hey guys, thank y'all for having me. It's really cool to be here with you.
We are so honored to have you on the podcast today. Thank you so much for joining us. So Henry and I are, I'm going to call you a friend, Henry. So we know each other a little bit. So Henry, your infamous twin brother, who we never saw on the show, is a friend of mine. And he dates one of my best friends in the entire world, Kelly. Who is in your favorite place to visit in the entire world, Northern Virginia.
Yeah, according to Reddit and the internet, it was the only place I ever visited. So, but yeah,
every time Northern Virginia got a shout out on the show, we were dying. That was hilarious. We loved it.
Good. I'm glad somebody did.
Yes, but I was so upset that Kelly and Joe did not cancel their trip to come to the wedding. And I to this day, I'm still mad at them because I was like, guys, you should have brought me to the wedding and then I could have been on the show too. So anyway, that is how Henry and I know each other. So Henry, again, thank you for coming on today. We appreciate it. And we are so excited to have this very special episode for you guys. But yeah, we just kind of like wanted to get into it and just talk about your time on Married at First Sight. But I think our first question is kind of, how did you get yourself on this ride? Like, how did you get signed up for the show?
Honestly, I was referred to the show by somebody, and they, I received a call, and I was told that someone referred me to the show and everything, and I had heard of it. I had heard about the show through a couple of friends that I know watch it. At that time, I had never seen any of it myself, but I certainly understood like the concept of it and what it was all about and all of that. And yeah, and I just slept on it for a couple of days and discussed it with my aforementioned brother, and and really just went from there. Went through each step and just decided to go through with it.
That's awesome. When you actually got picked, like what went through your mind?
When I got so you kind of go through each step, and naturally, the more steps you go through, the more of a reality it starts to become. Mm-hmm. And when I got matched, it was surreal. It was overwhelming. I don't think it hit me for quite some time. I don't think people realize that, like, how much goes into it, in order to get matched and everything. It really does take a commitment on a lot of different levels. And I think when I got matched, it was kind of surreal, but I was definitely excited. And I looked at it, just like when I discussed it with Joseph, my brother, for those of you at home, when I discussed it with him, it was just, it's like I told him, it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. I knew that there was a lot of risk involved, but I also thought that there was a lot of potential reward, and thought that it was worth it,
Totally.
one of the women got in, there was a little bit of like kind of internet outrage when she admitted that part of the reason she came on was that it was a TV show and it might be a fun experience. And some people got upset about that. And I'm sitting at home and I watch these shows with my wife. And I say to myself, how could you get upset about that? That has to be part of it. I mean, it's interesting. You're going to be on TV. It's this big experiment. You know there's going to be feedback. I'm sure, did that play a part in your decision making as well? Just like, do you have any interest in film and TV and stuff like that?
So do I have an interest in any of that? No, I never did. But I gotta say, yeah, I saw a lot of, that was Amelia.
Yes, Amelia.
She
Amelia,
disclosed that to Bennett on during their last or their final dinner together before decision day. And I gotta say, I did not understand the criticism that she got for that. I mean, if, you know, part of your decision to do something like this or like that is certainly the TV element of it. And that was, you know, as much, my main goal was clearly, or, you know, for me, my main goal was certainly the marriage and the potential match and what that could mean. But yeah, you definitely take into consideration the TV aspect. Like for me, I was scared as hell. Like that was one of the things potentially drawn me away from going through with it. You know, for Amelia, it seemed like it was one of the things that drew her in. You know what I mean? And if, you know, I mean, you guys have seen the show, so you know Amelia and Bennett fairly well, at least on TV. I mean, that's just who they are. That's who she is. She has an outgoing personality. She's charismatic. I could see why that would draw her in. I'm like the opposite of that. So, you know, that was certainly a big risk to it all for me. But once again, I just, as much as that kind of concerned me, I at the end of the day decided that it was worth the risk for me to take, you know?
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, that is, you and Amelia did present yourselves and seem to be like opposite ends of the spectrum. Like Bennett and Amelia were so outgoing, and it seemed like they were so theatrical that it didn't matter if a camera was there, they were going to be theatrical.
They have the absolute right mindset, or what I think is the right mindset that you have to have going into it. I honestly, you know, I think if you ever agree, or for anyone who ever may consider doing something like a TV show, or a reality show, I should say, you really do have to have the mindset of just not caring. Right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I do think that there were certainly times for me when, you know, the cameras kind of made me shy a little bit, especially early on. And you feel like, for me at least, I felt like I was walking on eggshells, being cautious about what I may or may not say. But, you know, Amelia, I think her attitude was right. I think it was justified. And I like I said, I didn't really understand the criticism. I mean, it's not like you go into this, it's like a surprise at the last second that it's a reality TV show. I mean, that's just what it is, you know?
Always go in and we're like, oh, like we know that, like, the producer probably twisted so-and-so's words. And so I know, like, I feel like for me, if I ever went on a reality TV show, I would probably be like you, walking on eggshells, thinking, what am I about to say that might get twisted, you know? And so that's why I asked that, because if you are watching a lot of reality TV, maybe you may be of that mindset, like, anything I say might get twisted, you know?
Yeah.
Sure. And I think, you know, and you're, or at least me, or I'm assuming everybody else who does it, I mean, you're cognizant of the fact, or at least I was, that, you know, it's going to be watched, you know, at some point down the road. And, you know, I didn't do it to hurt anybody's feelings or to say anything bad or whatever. But, you know, I mean, I will say, I do think that, you know, when you're doing it, there does come a time that it's just kind of like, you know, whatever. I mean, it's is what it is. It's part of your life at that point. But
yeah.
But but yeah, Amelia, I thought what she said was completely justified. I thought it was realistic, and no judgment from me, that's for sure.
Yeah, it seemed to be your natural personality, which was not to over talk, but to listen and let people talk, calmly say what you wanted to say, but not repeat yourself. And when you're like that, when you have someone on camera like that, the thing with editing is the more someone talks, the more you can create whatever story you want. Mm-hmm. When a person is not as talkative, but is to the point and succinct, it doesn't leave you with a lot of options in editing. So yeah. I thought that like you were, I mean, first of all, I think you did great as far as being on camera. There's not many people that can appear on a reality show and kind of at the end of it, you think your parents should be proud of of you being on the show. Like you really behaved so calmly and rationally in so many situations that otherwise you could have leaned into the drama. Mm-hmm. That I thought it was like you kind of, I don't know, it was like you presented a little bit of a challenge as an editor. I was watching it. Were you ever cognizant of that yourself? Like, hey, if I just say this, that's all they have.
No, not really, to be honest. Like I said, I think you're always conscious of or cognizant of the cameras around, but honestly, that's just kind of how I am. I'm not, like, by nature, I'm not confrontational, and unless my brother's involved or my father, but by nature with other people, I'm not confrontational, and certainly in that situation, that wasn't my goal. I like to listen. I like to think before I speak or think before I react, and I don't like to get, and I explain this to Christina a lot off camera. I don't like to get distracted by the like the silliness of you said this or that, or like I just don't like to get sidetracked. I like to discuss.
He said, she said bullshit.
Yeah. He said, she said. That, like, don't twist my words. Like, this is already a lot that's going on. I don't want to get sidetracked with nonsense. And yeah, so however, what you just discussed or explained, that that wasn't me cognizant of cameras. That's just kind of how I am. So unfortunately, it doesn't always make for exciting TV, but that wasn't really my goal.
And interesting about Married at First Sight is that they get a mix, mm-hmm. and they don't always just go for the dramatic or the scene mm-hmm. stealers. They actually try to get people together. And so it has worked many times on this show, more than The Bachelor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually agree with you on that. One thing I did really enjoy about at least the filming, or just really the experience in general, was there were a lot of different personalities there. You had your charismatic people like Woody and Amelia and Bennett, and then you had your laid back folks like myself and Olivia and whatnot. So we definitely had a good mix, and I think that in and of itself makes for good TV for the viewers at home. But I do agree, it's certainly not like it doesn't seem like they just go out there and just find like the most charismatic and most exciting of personalities just for the sake of drama,
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Olivia, I think everyone wants to know: is there is there anything going on with you and Olivia that people want to know?
Olivia and I are we are friends. We are not dating. I will never I'll never sit here and close any potential opportunities, but we're friends. I became friends with most of the cast, and she's one. I think Olivia is cool. I think I think she's fun to hang out with. Not just Olivia, I think all of us, Woody, Karen, Miles, Bennett, etc. We all certainly have a bond. We went, whether we were quote unquote successful or not, we all went through the same experience, and it was crazy. And I think we're all brave, no matter how it all played out. And Olivia's a fun person to hang out with.
Do you hear that from other people? We can't be the only ones who have asked that.
About me and Olivia?
Yeah.
No, my Instagram blows up.
I saw Miles, his Instagram story was like, "Stop sliding into my DMs about it, guys. They're not together."
I felt bad I felt bad that we caused that for him, but I did see it. I thought that was pretty funny. But
I was cracking up. That was funny.
Yeah, is what it is.
So, are you guys in touch with anyone from any other season, or are you guys like so very close with each other, and it's just like are just in such a different realm, or I don't know? Do you understand? I guess what I'm getting at there,
Yeah, I have never. No. At least speaking for myself, I'm not sure about anyone else from our season, but I have not spoken with anyone else from any of the other seasons. I guess other than technically Jamie, who because she hosts the Unfiltered, but no, I haven't spoken with anybody else. I'm definitely not opposed to it, but I would certainly like to hear about some of their experiences and all that. But no, but I have only kept in touch with the folks from our season.
That's interesting. There was an appearance early by a friend of yours who was on The Real World, Trishelle. And
yes.
Of course, my wife and I went nuts when we saw her because we watched that Real World season. Did she have anything to do with you coming on the show, or was her connection to reality TV just like total coincidence?
No, it's pure coincidence.
That's crazy.
Yes. I mean, not to my knowledge. I know, or I have a good idea who referred me. Trishelle was certainly supportive, and I mean, don't get me wrong. Trishelle was definitely all about me doing this, but for those people who think that Trishelle or Kristen, for that matter, or any of my friends convinced me to do this, they couldn't be more wrong. I am highly independent. I make my own decisions. I'm always thoughtful in what I do, and sure, was, like I said, was Trishelle a big cheerleader for it? Absolutely, but she did not influence my decision personally on whether or not to do it. So,
but it's good that you had someone like that, right? Who had a similar experience that you could. Yeah. You must have found that reassuring. Oh, okay, she went through something like this, and now here she is. She's happy, like, is a part of her life.
Definitely. She was absolutely somebody that I leaned on going into it, because once again, even though the marriage is the main focus, you cannot ignore the television element of it, and I definitely leaned on Trishelle a decent bit in that aspect going into it. So yes, that's cool. She was very helpful.
I got a COVID question for you.
Here we go.
Because as Sara said, that played a big part in your season. And actually, I just want to take the time to say for myself, that was like one of the only real and first depictions of Corona that I saw on a reality show. So it was a little like groundbreaking when you think about it. This season might, like, people go back and study it, in the time capsule. But it seemed to us as viewers that you were just they just kind of left you. Like the experts came back after a while and they're like, "We're sorry we haven't talked to you for so long." What kind of communication was there between production and you when it started? And was there anything that was shot that we didn't see, or can you describe that for us?
There honestly there was no, it wasn't like that at all. I did see some people commenting that it came across like that. We definitely had communication with the, if I'm not mistaken, we had a weekly touch base with the experts. Okay, cool. Where, yeah, and then we definitely had communication from production. You know, they were crazy times. No one knew. You know, it's. I mean, I'm not sure how it was for you guys up there, but for us, you know, it started off with a 2-week shutdown. I think statewide, certainly citywide, and you know, no one knew what the hell was going on. You know what I mean? It was like 2 weeks, and then 2 more weeks, and then a month, and production was as in the dark about everything as was everybody else. But no, they didn't just leave. Yeah, I mean, it was a tough situation for them, but they definitely didn't just like leave us in the dark.
That's good.
We certainly had communication with the experts. We certainly had communication from production, but it was crazy times, and they handled it as best they could. So hats off to them.
Was there at any point, was there a question of like, hey, are we going to continue doing this? Or do
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you would have asked me to bet my savings on whether or not we would finish it, to be frank, especially with how my experience was going to that point, I would have said there's no way we were finishing. I remember actually. Oh yeah, I mean, it was nuts. You know, I think even now, as we're still kind of going through the whole pandemic, I don't really think it's hit a lot of people what we're actually going through. And especially at that time, it was so doom and gloom and so end of the world, you know, that I was just like, there's no way we're going to finish. I remember doing an interview, like, you know, they came over and I had to do a solo interview. And I remember at the end of it, just telling them that they may as well take the tape out the camera and throw it in the trash. And I told them just to make sure that they don't throw away my dad's speech, to send it to me so we could watch it together one holiday. But, no, I mean, I did not think we were going to finish it. Like, I just,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I just kind of thought that, you know, I was myself, along with probably a number of other people on cast, I think we were just expecting them to tell us that it was getting canceled at any second. But to their credit, we powered through it and we got it done.
It is kind of remarkable that they were able to salvage the season, and I thought they did a pretty good job of then bringing you all back, and you went on that little retreat together, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a great idea. And actually, I was saying to my wife, I was like, damn, I wish I would have got to go on a retreat at some point during this quarantine. You know, like, that looked kind of fun.
Did you guys feel safe during that? And was everyone taking the right precautions and everything?
We definitely took the right precautions, or, you know, the precautions that, you know, as best as we could. Right. I'm sorry, what was the other part?
Did you feel safe during that retreat and everything and all that?
Absolutely felt safe. Trust me, there were all kinds of, when filming started back up, there were all kinds of precautions that they took. It was crazy. Like, just watching everything that we had to do from that point forward was like a movie in and of itself. Just really? how careful they had to be with everything and between all of us, you know. But definitely felt safe. I was not concerned at all. And that retreat, you know, it certainly was not Disney World or anything, but it was a blast. It was the first time that all of us hung out even though we all lived in the same complex. It was the first time that all of us really hung out together since Mexico, as far as I could remember. And it was, I think just everybody was mentally exhausted from everything,
I
and
can imagine, yeah.
it was just a good time to get together and have a bit of a distraction, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Behind the scenes question, as much as you can answer it. One of the things that we often hear about, or people talk about when they talk about reality shows, is how much is the producers are involved, blah, blah, blah. So if you could just describe to us how, like, maybe one shooting might work, it might help people understand, because there was one scene with you and Christina where I think she got upset and she was like, I don't want to talk about this. And you were doing your best to talk, and you could hear the producer say something like, talk a little bit about the food you're making, or do something like that. Is that generally how you're directed when the cameras are rolling, or how would you describe how they direct you?
I'm not sure how much I could really say other than you definitely, I mean, it's a team of people naturally that work behind camera. You have the audio folks and the PAs and the producers and the APs and all that. It's certainly a team of people. It's a group of people, especially with your, designated producer that you develop a relationship with and you lean on throughout the process. So, I'll just say, like, yeah, I mean, they certainly assist when needed, but yeah, I mean, it's. I don't know if I'm answering, because I want to be careful with how I.
Right.
Okay, I would guess. My guess would be that it depends. If you guys are having a good conversation,
yes,
they let it roll.
Right. So that's
right?
what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Is like, they're there to provide guidance when needed, but I mean, honestly, I'm not going to sit here and say they're a part of you as much as anyone else, but I mean, they really kind of are. I mean, it's like I said, it's the production team and your producer, it's someone you communicate with all the time, and they do their best to help out whenever necessary.
So guys, we have a lot to unpack from the first half of the video. I didn't know he had a twin brother, and it was interesting how production tended to make that North Virginia was the only place that he traveled, because a lot of people was like, dang, he don't travel at all. But that was the soundbite at the time. He signed up for the show based on somebody referring him. I thought that was interesting. Let me know what you guys think about that. And that he said he actually never really seen the show, but he did discuss it with his brother. When he got picked, he was overwhelmed. It was surreal to him, so I thought that was pretty interesting, which I think that would be for anybody. He talked a little bit about the outrage Amelia got from saying about this being a TV show and how she was excited about being on it. He couldn't understand that. And, I saw the fans being split down the middle with that too. Let me know what your thoughts were. I saw a lot of people who weren't happy with her. I also saw some folks that was like, hey, it is a TV show. She recognizes it. She's enjoying the moment. So it depends on where the two, lie with your decision. He also talked about being a mix of couples on the show, and that it wasn't always charismatic, all of the couples, but it was a mix of some people being laid back, which I guess. Let me know what you think about what he said about production, because he said it was just part of your life. Even that whole thing with Amelia was justified in what was being said. But do you actually think production does twist your words the more you talk? So I thought that was pretty interesting. Now, the big doozy, which everybody's been buzzing about, is this whole thing with Olivia and Henry dating. And he has just confirmed that they are just friends. They are not dating. I know people have been blowing up his DM, Miles's DM, and it's been crazy. He talked a little bit about COVID and how the experts were around. We never thought that they were, because we never saw them, but they definitely were around on a weekly touch base. And then he talked about behind the scenes with Christina and everything. And he couldn't really answer a lot of those questions, but they definitely was able to salvage the season. So let's jump back into the second half of the show.
How often are the cameras and the producers with you?
They're. I don't honestly. I don't know that I could answer that, unfortunately.
Okay, all right. I'm just interested to know if it's like they give you a schedule of like, we're going to hang out with you when you do this, but we're not going to be here when you do this, just so you have more time like actually together.
I mean, I could say it's scheduled shooting, and it's not like like my friend Trishelle who did The Real World, where it was like just cameras like all over the place. I mean, I think anyone who watches the show can see that. But yeah, sure. It's definitely scheduled shooting. But as far as like the details on how much, I don't know that I could.
That's cool.
I could say, but you certainly have an idea of what to expect. Day to day.
So I think people in general are interested in kind of how things are shot because we're more educated viewers.
I think what the last thing you just said about the viewers being a little more educated, and that's for a lot of different reasons nowadays. But I think that and I don't know this for a fact. I have no idea, because I do agree with you. It's clear that they're a little more comfortable showing that now than in seasons past. I'm not really sure why, but I do think a big part of it is that viewers are a little more educated nowadays. I think some of it's like I said earlier. I mean, I think we all maybe not all of us, but I think a lot of us make the decision to do this with the marriage, the first priority. But none of us are ignorant of the fact that there are cameras around and that it's a TV show. So I mean, that being said, it can play into somebody's marriage. Like that part of it can play a big part into somebody's relationship, and so I think it's good to see them not be afraid to share that a little bit.
Yeah, I know Olivia was always saying with Brett that he was just such night and day when the cameras were off. I remember that was a big thing with them for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have only one more production question, and then I'll stop being annoying about it. But this is a funny one though. Okay. When they because on this show they love doing the wake up shoot and the go to bed shoot. They love doing it. And everybody on Facebook and the internet is always like, why they already have their makeup on? Oh my God. And I always have to sit there and say, hey, it's okay if they say good night and they turn the lights off and then they say, okay, the camera crew's leaving. We're really going now. Bye, guys. So can you answer that question? Do sometimes when you turn out the lights, are you not actually going to bed?
I cannot answer that question.
That's okay. I knew that. I had to ask, though.
Yeah.
But because that's okay.
Funny.
You still have to get a shot sometimes, and it can still be real. I think the idea of reality show, docudrama, documentary, the lines are so blurry that in the end, what it really comes down to is the intent, whether you're trying to fool an audience or you're just trying to show a natural thing, right? And then life happens.
Yeah.
It's true. That's
all right.
true.
So we haven't really, spoken about Christina at all. So I think we need to dive in to your actual marriage. So when you first saw Christina walking down the aisle, what were you thinking?
Apparently, the first thing I thought was that she was tall. I did think that, but I think Christina's a pretty girl. I think I mean, honestly, when she first walked down the aisle, I think, like, yes, like, you know, I certainly had my first impressions and all that,
Right.
because there's so much, like, just leading up to that moment. It's just all about the match, right? It's like the match. Like, what do you think? What do you think she looks like? What do you think she's going to be like? What do you think her family is going to be like? And you know, leading up to it, that's just all you think in your head. You just think so much about that. But honestly, for me, a lot of it was just like, you know, I'm going to pat myself on the back. Leading up to it, I was just so cool, calm, and collected. I think my friends were wondering if I really was a robot or a human being. But then when I was up there and you could see my nervous twitch, you know, going off a little bit, it just, standing up there, it just hit me. It just all became so real. And it, you know, the most real part of it was when she walked down the aisle. And I think I really was thinking more about that than any of it. I was like, holy crap, you're about to get married.
This
you know,
is happening. Like, oh my God.
And this is her. And you know, and this journey, you know, there's so much build up to it. And then it's like, wow, this journey is really about to get started. So to be honest, that really was going through my head more than anything.
And then, I mean, your dad really stole the show during the reception. He was great. I wish we could have seen more of his speech, because I heard it was amazing, the whole thing.
Yeah. You know, my dad has I'm a good mix between, you know, personality wise, I should say, but I'm a good mix between my mom and my dad. My mom's a lot more laid back and to herself, and my dad is certainly, you know, doesn't shy away from the spotlight, clearly, and he's a lot more colorful, and I think I'm just a good mix between both of them. But yeah, my dad certainly enjoyed giving that speech, didn't he? So, and you know, since we're talking about my father, I will just address one annoying thing about the comments I read online. I read so much about how my father's verbally abusive and how,
oh my gosh,
it was nonstop. You know, just everybody thought he was like just verbally abusive, and I was the way that I am because of him. Let me be clear. My dad is not verbally abusive. I get it. Up north, it's a little different than down south, but you know, that's, you know, a lot of fathers down here, not all of them, but especially where I grew up, it's kind of tough love. You know, I describe, even though he's never coached anything before, but I kind of describe him as a football coach dad. He just, he shows people love by giving them a hard time. That's just what he does. Whether or not someone agrees with that or not, I don't really care. That's your opinion, and I completely respect it and I understand it. But he was definitely not, you know, my dad loves me. He instilled a hard work ethic in me, and he taught me a lot growing up. And I thought his speech was rather funny. My only issue with the speech was that they gave him like 2 minutes to speak, and he spoke for about 30. And it really had nothing to do with what he was saying. It had a lot more to do with, Dad, give the mic up. You know, like,
that's what I meant. Yeah.
We got to get the show on the road. And but you know, that being said, I did want to address that because my dad and I have a great relationship. And
oh my gosh, I did not know that people were saying that online. So yes, absolutely, clear that up. Oh my gosh, yes,
it dominated. Yeah, no, that like dominated, and it was kind of disappointing to see because he's
that's awful.
Yeah, it's just a different relationship. You just give each other a hard time. It actually, I'm kind of glad I was brought up that way because it's given me thick skin over the years to where like I don't take everything so personally. Like I really don't. Like you can tell me whatever, you know. Like it's probably helped prepare me pretty well for this whole experience with some of the nonsense I had to read online. But like no, I mean it's just tough love. You just, like you said, you just take cracks at one another, and that's just what it is. I get that some people don't understand that and they disagree with it, and that's fine. But he and I have a great relationship. He said some funny things. I'll give my dad credit. He's witty as hell, and some of the things that pop into his mind so quick, I'm usually impressed. So it was definitely entertaining. You know, if you sign up for this or if you sign up for that, it's you just have to do your best to mentally prepare for that kind of experience, and I handled it the best way I could, and certainly having my family be part of it was part of that agreement, and I wanted them to be part of it, and and they obviously were. So it was quite entertaining,
Mm-hmm. So just kind of going back to Christina, obviously, we could tell throughout that it wasn't really working. And what was the initial, like, this isn't going to work for you situation? Like, was it at the reception? Was it the honeymoon? I know I was, at the reunion, you were saying that you had, heard when she was telling you she had just gotten out of a 5-year relationship. Mm-hmm. Was that kind of the, like, this isn't going to work for me? Or was there another specific moment that just, you were like, I don't know about this situation?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there were quite a few, but when she told me about her getting out of a relationship, not that long, a 5-year relationship where she was living in California, only, 8 months ago, prior to our wedding day, which means when you're going through the process, that it was only like 5 or 6 months ago, whatever. Right. I did kind of, and it's not a knock on Christina. I just do question one's mental readiness to sign up for something like that and to like actually be committed, or to actually just be ready to get married and settle down and stuff. And then I was learning from some of her guests that the relationship was a quote unquote toxic one, and that they did crazy things to one another. And then Christina herself told me that later on. So I was like, okay, so some of what I was hearing from the wedding is true, because at that point it was kind of second or third hand information, and then Christina did confirm that with me. And I'm not going to get into the details of all that, but that was certainly a red flag for me. But honestly, it wasn't, that was one element of it all. There was just I think at the end of the day, it was just the more I learned about each of us, we were just like so different, and I mean, at the end of the day, that would, like, how different we were, that was the foundation of like all of our issues, whether it be, she's just getting out of a relationship or whatever, no matter what kind of red flags I saw or discovered early on, like the crux of it all is that we're just so damn different, and I think when you, and I know, y'all know this, and for those listening at home or in your car, if you, like, two different personalities can work, but the differences have to complement one another.
Absolutely.
They have to be compatible, like, but if they're not, then it's just a struggle, and just I was trying to give the process as much time as I could to see if it was ever going to get to a point to where our differences complemented one another, but they just never did. It just kind of caused friction, and that's okay. It's really not the end of the world. But like my mom and dad are a perfect example. I mean, they are so different than one another. Clearly, I mean, you saw my dad, and you never saw my mom. There's a reason for that. I mean, she's not someone who like walks into the spotlight much and go. But that's how their relationship is. Like my dad needs somebody like my mom, but for Christina and I, unfortunately, our differences didn't really gel in quite the same way.
Yeah,
it just didn't. I completely agree with that. I was kind of on paper, I totally understood why on paper Christina and I were a match. I actually requested, like, I actually, told them I would prefer someone a little different than me. Like, if you ever saw my group of friends, I mean, hell, you've seen some of them with Trishelle and whatnot, but I surround myself with people. I am incredibly cognizant of who I surround myself with, whether it's someone I'm in a relationship with or someone I'm friends with or whatever. I know that I'm laid back into myself and all that. And sometimes I need people around me to bring me out of that shell a little bit. And I think that's important for me in a relationship. I am going to need somebody to kind of pull me out of my lane a little bit, pull me out of my shell, get me to not be as routine. And I thought on paper, Christina actually made a lot of sense early on. But once again, as the relationship progressed and developed a little bit, it was clear that our differences, although I could see why they match us, it was clear that it just made more sense on paper than it did in reality,
Yeah.
There were so many moments where I was just like, all right, let's stop getting distracted here. Let's try to, keep looking straight ahead at the prize. But that's, like, once again, that's not a fault or a knock on Christina at all. The situation is a stressful one. It's like,
I can imagine.
It is a stressful one. I am not the easiest person to be with because I am hard to read and I am incredibly logical and I am not very, emotionally responsive and reactive and all that. So, like, look, there was a lot going on internally for Christina. There was a lot going on for us, but it gets back to what I said earlier, right? Like the foundation of all of our issues were that we were just so different. Like, we each handled the situation a lot differently than either one of us expected the other one would. And I think that was, that was yet another contributing factor to our, our demise, if you will,
Yeah. Mm. I have a question for you, unrelated, which is, did you connect with any of the experts? Are you still in contact with them at all? Because I love them. I think they're fantastic, especially Pastor Cal and Dr. Pepper. They've been around a while on the show, and it just seems like they really would be great people to talk to and get advice from.
Yeah, I've spoken a little bit with Pastor Cal since, and a little, when I say a little bit, I mean just exchanged messages here and there with Dr. Viviana and Pastor Cal. Not Dr. Pepper. I mean, not for any particular reason, but I loved the experts. I think they talk about compliment one another. I think the three of them complement each other really well. I always enjoyed speaking to Dr. Viviana and Pastor Cal. Pastor Cal is a cool dude, and he gave me some great advice along the way that has stuck with me, and some advice that was definitely some big takeaways for me. And Dr. Pepper, some people think Dr. Pepper is kind of tough and just hard to read and stuff, but I think that's why I like Dr. Pepper so much, because that's kind of how I am. Like, I'm really dry, I'm really to the point. That's how I am professionally and personally. And so I think when you're like that, I think a lot of times people misunderstand you or misread you. But I know, like, once again, it goes back to you can't take everything personally. Like, Dr. Pepper has a job. She just doesn't provide a lot of fluff. If you're looking for fluff, Dr. Viviana will give that to you a little bit, and in some ways Pastor Cal. But Dr. Pepper, she's there she has a job to do. She gets to the point, and it's not all about softening the landing spot, if you will. She just that's just how she operates, and I respect that.
It wasn't the best experience, but here you are. It seems like it all in all, it was a positive experience for you.
I think every experience is a learning one. I took a lot away from, I should say, I've taken a lot away from my experience, both in a marriage and the filming element of it and all that. Like, when you do that, you put yourself out there like not many people ever get a chance to do, and that in and of itself is a learning experience. And I certainly learned a lot, during my marriage with Christina, and a lot of that has to do with some of the guidance that the experts provided us along the way. So, I'll never look back on it and say it was like a waste of time or anything. It was a once in a lifetime opportunity. I've grown a lot from it, and I'm hoping that it makes me a better person going forward, both for myself and hopefully one day for someone else.
I think my last question, Henry, is just how has your life changed, and what's next for you?
How has my life changed?
Yeah.
I have a lot more followers now.
Yeah. I saw AOC as one of them. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. I wasn't gonna say that, but yeah. I gotta say, when I got wind of that, because I had no clue. I think that's when it really hit me that, wow, like there are some people out there who know who I am, and it's, I don't know, man, it's surreal. I part of me feels like it still hasn't hit me, and it's weird. Like, I've gotten recognized a number of times just being out and about, whether it's like the grocery store or running at the park that I go to, or whenever I go grab a drink here and there. And I don't know, just the amount of followers and the messages I get, it's been overwhelming, but it's been very cool, and a lot of them have been pretty supportive, and it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like, wow, a lot of people are there to support me that I've never met before, and I don't know, I guess there's a little bit of a warm and fuzzy feeling that goes along with that,
That's great. Yeah, I've seen a lot of supporter Instagrams popping up for you, so that's been really cool to see. I'm sure I can only imagine all the girls sliding into your DMs now, Henry.
It's funny. I mean, I didn't. There are some girls that have, I guess, slid into the DMs. I mean, I really, I've a lot of the messages I get are just like supportive, and I actually do try to respond here and there, just because I feel like it's a nice thing for some people to reach out and do that. But I don't know. Like I said, it's surreal. It's just I didn't expect that many people to either follow me or to care, or to even, from what I read on Twitter, a lot of people were fast forwarding through my scenes. So I thought a lot of people didn't even know who the hell I was. And yeah, it's cool. I mean, and as far as what's next, I have no clue. Like I have to be honest, I do have a little bit of a platform now. It's not a big one, but it's certainly more than what I had before. And I have a couple of ideas on how I may want to take advantage of it, by just a couple of ideas that I won't get into now, because nothing's really set in concrete yet. But my little brain is racking some ideas, and hopefully soon I have some announcements to make. But but it's really cool, and we'll see what happens next.
Well, my one request is that if you ever get asked to go on Dancing with the Stars, you have to say yes, because then I will come and be in the audience and support you.
Did you see me dance on a show? Did you see the salsa lesson?
Yes, and that is the point of the show. You will grow and you will get better, and then you will win,
it's a journey,
because you will have the support of Married at First Sight viewers and this podcast.
I appreciate that. I could say this. And I know I'm a tough critic of myself, but just watching myself on TV, I think it's pretty safe to say that nobody will come knocking on my door anytime soon to do anything else. But I will say this: Dancing with the Stars will certainly not. There would be a lot of help I would need in order for me to learn to dance like that. But if they do, you'll be the first to know.
Hey, if Grocery Store Joe can make it far, so can you, Henry.
I have no idea. Who is Grocery Store Joe?
I knew you were going to say that. Just look him up on YouTube and you'll see.
I'll look him up, but
he's from The Bachelor, or Bachelorette, I guess I should say.
Okay, I got you. Well, I will look him up, and hopefully he provides some inspiration for me.
Yes, but if they ever come calling, you have to say yes.
Will do.
That is my one request.
Noted.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think we have taken up enough of your time today, Henry. Thank you so much for hopping on with us. We had a blast. We will give you the last word. Is there anything that you want to tell the people before we wrap up?
No, not really. I had like I said, it was a once in a lifetime opportunity. I had a great time doing it. It was very cool to speak with you guys, and for anyone listening, if if you aren't following me, feel free to do so. I try to share some humor on my Instagram and make people laugh. So feel free to follow me. And like I said, hopefully I have some announcements coming up soon with what I plan on doing next. So
Do you want to share your handle?
yes, my handle is H Rodriguez IV, and yeah, because I am the fourth, and that's it. So look me up, follow me. If AOC can find me, I'm sure you can too.
Excellent.
Okay, so that was an awesome video. He covered a lot also in the second half of the video. Talked about a little bit behind the scenes. He couldn't talk about much, and I thought that was pretty interesting. There's obviously some things going on that he definitely can't. I don't know if he'll be sued or something like that, but he definitely can't elaborate. In regards to the scheduling of scenes, he couldn't talk too much about that, but I don't know if you guys caught my video that I did about Love Island, where Caleb was saying that they took their watches because of the fact that they didn't know what time of day it was, because it could be 2 in the morning and they're getting up out of bed, or it could be 2 in the afternoon and they're going to sleep for bedtime. So obviously it's some crazy things that go on. You definitely have to be prepared for that if you sign up for something like this. He described Christina as being tall and pretty. He was cool and collective, and his dad had a 30-minute speech that we only got to see 2 minutes of. I'm glad he did address the whole thing about the comments he was getting online about his father being verbally abusive. He said that his father is definitely not like that at all, that they have a great relationship. He called him a football coach dad that shows tough love. Both of his parents are different. They're like day and night. You never really saw his mom or, like he said, his brother. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Back on Christina, he questioned the fact that, was she actually ready to be in a marriage because of the fact that she just got out of a 5-year relationship with a married man. I'm glad he kind of said, I don't want to go hard on her. I mean, he did enough at the reunion. But I will give her kudos for getting out of that situation, but I just think she needed to take a little bit more time to herself. And he said her guest said that she was in this relationship and that it was toxic. So her own guest put that information out there. I thought it was his friends. On paper, they were a match, but they just had so many vast differences. He felt that this is a learning experience. It was, he won't take it up and chalk it up as a negative one. And then he also is still in contact with the experts, which he, is happy about that. He called Dr. Pepper tough, but Pastor Cal and Dr. V like to give fluff. But guys, go over, if you want to hear the full podcast, go over to Batch It Up by Sara and Axel on Spotify. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you in the next one.